80% of your traffic, sales, and fans are likely driven by 20% of your content and efforts. So if you are overwhelmed or burnt out, this episode is hopefully going to help you to focus on what actually works. Welcome back to On the Horizon. This is MelRose Michaels. I am your host, and I'm here to share what's worked for me in building my adult creator business to try to make building yours just a little bit easier. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, CEO Squad. If you are feeling overwhelmed by how much content you're supposed to make, or how you're constantly supposed to be posting or promoting or filming, but the results don't feel like they match your efforts, this episode is for you. Because here is what a lot of creators never realize. Not all effort is actually equal, and not all content comes with a profit. And if you try to treat every platform or every post or every video like it matters equally, you will likely burn out. So today we're going to talk about this 80-20 principle, one that when applied correctly, hopefully will simplify your business, increase your income, and reduce your workload. And specifically, I'm talking about how to apply this to your adult creator business. And this is super timely because this is something I am personally encountering right now. And I am speaking from personal experience about really looking at all of my businesses and auditing where my time is worth putting, because there's very little of me these days to go around, and I need to get the highest leverage on everything I do. So this is a super timely episode. And the irony of that actually being the fact is that when I plan these episodes, I plan them so far in advance that it's really just ironic and funny that as I'm doing the episode and as it comes up in our content calendars here at SWCEO, it's actually applying to my businesses in my life. So I don't know if I'm accidentally manifesting this or if it's just relevant and evergreen and we happen to be here. So I'm glad you're tuning in for this episode. I appreciate you and I hope you get tremendous value out of it. So to kick off, I think we need to talk about the 80-20 rule in general. And this is also known as the Pareto Principle. And it basically states that 80% of your results are likely going to come from 20% of your efforts. So this shows up lots of places in your businesses. So this could be 80% of your revenue likely comes from 20% of your customers. I'm sure all of you listening as creators know that you have those couple whales that without them, you would really struggle on your platforms. This is also true for me. The strength of a business is actually derived from how many little customers you can have that make up the bulk of your business. So a really healthy or a really lucky, I don't know if lucky is the right word, but a really sustainable business is one that doesn't rely on that 20% of their customer base, but the average business typically does. Another example of this is when 80% of your problems come from 20% of your tasks. That's kind of the uphill battle I'm currently facing. Or the fact that 80% of your happiness sometimes comes from 20% of your actual activities. And yes, this beautifully applies to content creation and the processes we face. So, for example, in the adult industry, 80% of your traffic, sales, and fans are likely driven by 20% of your content and efforts. So if you are overwhelmed or burnt out or trying to do everything like I am, this episode is hopefully going to help you to focus on what actually works. So the most common 80-20 breakdown in adult content. This is the mistake that I see most creators making and that I often fall prey to myself. And that is that you treat your explicit content like it's the main thing. You treat your social media content like it's the afterthought. And this is something I'm so currently actively guilty of. So I know that that's not the way it's supposed to be, but it's a pattern I kind of tend to fall into. And the reality is that your social media content is often 80% of what drives people into your sales funnel. Whereas your explicit content, the thing people actually pay for, is the 20% that monetizes the attention. So I want to break this down. If social media is your 80%, so this is your Instagram stories, your TikToks, your, X or Twitter posts, your Reddit promo, your personality clips, I guess you could call them, or your teasers or your voice notes that maybe you post or memes that you create. This is the kind of content that builds awareness, that drives traffic, that creates desire, and it grows your audience. It's what brings people into the top of your sales funnel. Now, your explicit content. So this is your fan site videos, your clip store uploads, your customs, your PPV bundles. This is your 20%. So this is going to be the kind of content that converts your fans, that monetizes the whatever you're building, your fan site, your clip store, etc. And this is what retains your high value customers. This is the end goal that they're hoping to see, right? So if you're focusing 80% of your time on explicit content and not enough on marketing or personality or funnel building content, aka social content, you're likely approaching your business backwards. And I'm saying this because I'm currently doing this. And it's something that I'm looking to actively course correct in the next couple weeks. So how do you identify your personal 20%? So I want us all to think about this critically and personalize this, because your 20% may look different than my 20%. So the goal is to identify what's really working best for you. And we have a course video that's coming out on our YouTube channel about tracking links that's going to add value to even this episode and this podcast as you listen to it. So I'm just going to shamelessly plug that in a week from this being live, and when this actually makes it to our podcast channel as an episode for replaying, you're going to have this video and this course available to you. So you should check out that tracking link course as well. But here is how we do this. Here's how we identify what's working best for us. We track sales by content type. So look at your last 60 days, and you need to know, or you need to have written somewhere or have stored somewhere, whether this is a spreadsheet, an Asana board, a Google task, however you do your workflows, you need to have your sales tracked by content type. So you want to know what videos sold the most. You want to know what posts led to the most DMs or subscribers. And you want to know what promotions or ads spiked your sales. So all of this comes down to tracking. But the goal of this is to identify the patterns. So every time you post maybe a voice note teaser, along with letting people know or letting fans know you have a new piece of content, explicit content, do sales go up? Do your cosplay content outsell your other videos? Do fans respond more to the playful girlfriend vibes rather than the hardcore stuff that you're posting? If you can't identify the patterns that come from these couple questions, you're kind of flying blind. So again, you want to have 60 days worth of data to know what kinds of videos are selling best for you with your fans. This is the stuff that you're monetizing. You want to know which ads or posts on social led to the most DMs and subscribers. You need tracking links to know that. And then what promos or ads spiked your sales. So what kind of promotions for your OnlyFans, your Fansly, your Fancentra, whatever platform you're using, spiked your sales? Is it when you have a sale that marks your fan site down to $3.99? Is it when you have a sale that marks your fan site down 80%? Whatever it is, you need to make note of that and have 60 days of data or evidence to support making decisions based on it. The next piece is to track by platform. So this is number 2. What are your best fans? Where are they coming from? So when you have really good fans, really high spending fans, those whales that we talk about, where are they coming from? How did they find you? Ask them. This is something you can ask in DM. And it's something you can approach in DM very authentically and out of nowhere. Hey, you know what? We've been having so much fun in here, and I have no idea how you even found me. Do you remember? I'd be so curious. That's a perfect script you can use at any time and interject with any fan. The next piece of this, are they converting from Reddit, Twitter, or X, Instagram, somewhere else? Once you find out where those best fans, those high quality fans, those whales have come from, you need to make note of that. How many of those fans say they came from those places? Rank those places highest converting to whales to lowest converting to whales. And then you want to ask or try to identify what kind of social content gets them to click. Now, fans might not be able to help you identify this very well, but you can get some back-end social media insight data to see how this is working. Did you post an Instagram reel today And did you notice a spike in subscriptions today? Okay, well, that social content likely got them to click and convert. So these are the things you want to be looking out for and tracking by platform. If 80% of your traffic is coming from Twitter, but you are spending most of your time trying to grow a TikTok, you're probably wasting your energy and you're doubling down on what's wrong. So we want to focus 20% of our energy on the thing that's getting us 80% of our reward.
If you're enjoying this podcast episode so far, please take one moment to share it with another one of your adult content creator friends, because you know what the rule is here. We do not gatekeep, and we want to make as many adult creators' businesses as easy as possible. And you sharing this episode with them might do exactly that. Thanks so much in advance.
So now we're going to track our energy. This is the third part to this. The 80-20 rule applies to everyone. So what content do you make that drains you? You want to be cognizant of like the stuff that you feel is very time intensive, very physically intensive, not super sustainable for a long time horizon. You want to know what stuff you want to spend maybe less time doing. You want to know what kind of content feels really easy and fun. For me, a JOI video always feels easy and fun. I like to challenge myself on how to get those to be creative and new and refreshing. I love doing ratings. This stuff is pretty simple. It's not hard on my body. It's not physically demanding of me, which I really appreciate, versus something that is like a collab piece of content where I have to organize it, schedule it, have a content checklist, a 2257, have all this documentation, coordinate with the other creator on how much we're going to sell it for, where we're going to sell it. Like that for me is like intense. That's a huge energy suck as far as collab content goes. And then the third question to ask yourself is like, where do you shine naturally? Like what comes super natural to you as a creator? What comes easy for you in terms of content? What is like very aligned with you as a person? Like when you identify those things, you can reduce friction because those are things that are natural and easy and very, I guess I want to say like lubricated. Like they're very easy to do because they're aligned with you very well. Because the reality is like sustainable business is about working in alignment. So if you hate customs and they only make like 5% of your income and you can't resell them or you don't resell them, maybe let them go. Or maybe you raise your prices on them because they take a lot of intensity and time and it's not something you like doing. For me, I would much rather and much prefer to make evergreen solo content that I can sell a million trillion times across many platforms than a single custom. And if I do sell a single custom, I'm going to sell it for a huge price because it's this thing that always seems to end up on my to-do list lately anyway. There was a time when I was crushing customs, but right now with life and everything I've got going on, customs will sit on my to-do list, get dragged over from day to day to day. And then I just have this black cloud of like, I suck hanging over my head because I know that I have this looming activity that I'm not getting to. And I know that I have fans that I'm disappointing and it just doesn't feel good. It's not what I want to be doing. So like if I can't actually commit and pull it off, maybe I need to not do that as much. Maybe I need to reduce the amount of customs that I'm making or raise my prices so that I'm highly incentivized to want to execute on them. The whole point I'm trying to drive home is that you want to focus on what gives you the best return for your energy that you are investing. There's something you can do, and this is something I'm actively kind of working on, what I was working on before I got into this Twitter space with you and started this episode, and that's restructuring your week around this 80-20 concept. So now that you know that what your 20% is, what it consists of, what kind of content it is, where your 20% of your best traffic is coming from, what kind of content you like doing or where your energy is rejuvenated, you should be building out your week around that. So an example of a weekly structure based on 80-20 priorities. Maybe Monday is social media planning and your marketing focus. So you're going to plan all your posts for, say, Twitter, Reddit, Instagram. You're going to schedule your promos and your teasers. You're going to write captions, create hooks. Again, we have products like GPTease.ai that can help you with all of that. Maybe Tuesday, we can do content production, and that's like your money-making focus. So you would be filming your 20% content. So your highest selling kind of content, your highest in demand types of videos, and you have data to support this because you would be tracking it. And you want to focus on quality instead of quantity. You want to put out really good content that you know your fans already love, like to buy, you like to make. And then maybe you want to batch create that stuff on your Tuesday. So your Monday is your marketing focus, your Tuesday is your money making focus. And now you get to Wednesday, right? And so this can be like your engagement or your audience building. So this is when you're going to really double down on DMs. Maybe you're going to engage on social, post polls or do stickers or tweet some voice or audio messages. And you can also post voice notes or create behind the scenes content, even if it's just like a selfie video of you describing to a fan, like, hey, I had so much fun making this scene. I just wanted to bump you on it in case you wanted to unlock. If you really love this kind of content, I'll do more of it. And like all of that stuff is pretty low key. This is something you can film, like, again, short selfie clips, responding to DMs is just text based, and then engaging on social. Now, Thursday, maybe you want your Thursday to look like an admin or analytics day. So this is when you would be reviewing which posts, which promos or ads, and which content made the most money. This is when you're updating your spreadsheets or when you're evaluating and analyzing everything. You're going to be looking at what's working. And then you're going to take that information and adjust your strategy for next week. And then let's say Friday is like bonus creation. So maybe that's trying to film a new video type that you want to test. Maybe that's the time when you'd collaborate or you'd create some sort of series. Maybe this is when you test new post formats. Maybe you're going to release a 2-minute clip instead of a 15-minute clip. Maybe that gets way more unlocks. If it does, why are we making 15-minute clips that take a lot more time to edit and produce and distribute and upload? Like, if we don't know that data, it's really hard to make those calls. So when you build your week around what actually works and what actually moves the needle, this is when you're going to feel like things are starting to get easier for once. And I know this from experience because I'm living it. Right now, things feel really hard. So this next part is just this idea about stop over creating and instead start over optimizing. I think most creators are doing too much, myself included. We're filming nonstop, we are posting constantly. A lot of us are experiencing burnout, and we're still not hitting our income goals. So, like, there's this philosophy in business that when you find something that works, you do more of it and you do it better, but you don't like change course, right? But if what you're doing right now isn't working already, doing more of it is not going to help. And doing better at something that's not working is also not going to help. So it's probably not that you need more content. It's probably that you need to focus and identify your best content and then just double down, whether that's explicit, whether that's social, etc. Because the reality is, and I've talked to agencies that run huge creator pages, and I've talked to huge creators who run their own pages, and it's not really about having like 10,000 pieces of content in your library. Like, that's a plus if you're looking to sell your library of content one day or license content one day. But if you have 10 pieces of content that sell forever or 100 pieces of content that you can sell forever, you're you're sitting kind of pretty. Like, you're going to be okay. There is a creators page who I talked to, I think it was their agency or their agent who runs their pages. And one of the things they said, because I told them, like, I create content at that stage, I was creating content every single day, Monday through Friday, making a new video and building out my library. 'Cause just my background, like, I come from a premium Snapchat experience or space. So I'm used to creating a lot of content pretty frequently. So it's not a challenging exercise for me, except for the fact that life happens and life changes and businesses change. But when I was talking to this agency about this creator's large page, I was like, yeah, I create content, Monday through Friday, pretty much every single day. And I release it pretty quickly. And they were saying, like, if you have 100 pieces of content, like, there's no reason to ever create content again. Like, if you have 100 good videos that convert, you have no reason to ever create content again. Like, unless you're selling customs to your whale tippers, the fans that come across your fansite page, they won't ever stay long enough, or very, very unlikely to stay long enough beyond like a 3-month or a 6-month period or a year-long period to ever see all of that content. So if you have a really healthy business, and even if you're getting a lifetime value, like LTV of a customer that stays subscribed, maybe 3 months on average for a really good page, like for a strong, engaged, active DM page, 3 months is not enough time to see 100 full-length videos. So realistically, you have to figure out what kind of content sells to your audience, what converts really well, identify what your core bestsellers are, and then you just resell that stuff. Like, the burnout comes from this idea that we have to be constantly making more and new and all of that. But in terms of the explicit side, that 20% that actually converts revenue, you don't need that much. The stuff that you could get burnt out doing is that constant like 80%, that social media content that's filling your funnel and all of that. That's kind of the rat race. That's the cycle that we have to stay on because we have to keep those followers following us and hopefully subscribing and converting. But the explicit stuff, it actually doesn't have to work that way. So one of your goals should be really to identify what sells. The other goal should be to repurpose it and then promote it constantly. And you want to build this catalog or this library of your like evergreen banger content, the stuff that always converts, that always crushes, that you're always getting compliments on. I think that's super useful and that's going to go a long way for so many of the creators listening today or listening to this episode that are burnt out and tired and just feel like they can't get out of this cycle of create, repeat, create, repeat. So these are kind of the action steps that I want you to take away from listening to this episode, right? I want you to go through your sales history from the last 60 days, if you have tracking data and evidence, and highlight your top performing 3 to 5 pieces of content. If you don't have sales data, or if you can't pull sales data, or if you're not sure what's selling, then instead of that step one being to go through sales history from the last 60 days and figure out what's top performing, then instead your step one should be to start tracking every video you put out and understanding how well or not well it's performing. Because I guarantee some of you guys are spending time making videos, myself included, that no one wants to buy. And we still make them. And we just keep doing it because we're like, well, I think that's good, but I don't have any proof. So if you have sales data, figure out what's top performing. If you don't have sales data, start tracking so you can get sales data. You need 60 days. The next step, I think, would be to go through your traffic sources. So highlight the top platforms that are bringing you your fans and subscribers. In order to know that, you need tracking links in play on your social media platforms, taking the fans from the social platform to whatever your spicy site is or your fan site is, whether that's OnlyFans, Sweatcentro, whatever. Step 3 is going to be to cut one thing out you've been doing that doesn't perform well or that burns you out. It can be either. It can be something that performs great, but it's killing you to create. It can also be that. So if it's not performing well, you can kill it. Or if it's burning you out, even if it's performing well, you can kill it. And number 4 would be to pick one type of teaser or marketing content to double down on this week. A great way to kind of start to tackle that is to like look at your socials, look at your Instagram reels, look at your TikToks, look at your Twitter posts, go into your analytics and your insights. Which of those things got the most views, got the most impressions, got the most plays, got the most saves, the most shares? Analyze that data and figure out which thing performed well and try to replicate it. See if you can double down on it. Now, I asked CEOs Society, so this is our closed community of adult creators, kind of like what they think gives them the best return for their time. And each creator kind of like said for their specific brand, for their specific audience, their specific fans, that they could kind of identify more or less the stuff that crushes. For some creators, it's stepmom content. For others, it was good morning messages. For some, it was JOY or home wrecking or like Dom stuff. For some, it was sexting sets that they could release slowly in the DMs. But the point is that you have to be able to identify it to know what to do more or less of. And that all starts with really having the self-awareness to look at your business objectively, like I have to do as well, even at this phase, and make these hard decisions. I think that I have been in a cycle of avoiding auditing and evaluating my creator business lately because my hands are so full elsewhere with the other businesses. But when your adult and your spicy, business is the one that is driving most of your revenue or where your income is entirely dependent, it's a priority, or it should be the priority for you. So also I want to emphasize that if you're listening to this and you do other things, like if you're a spicy creator, but you maybe are a spicy creator assistant on the side, or if you're a spicy creator, but you're trying to start a YouTube channel on the side, or trying to start maybe an educational thing on the side or sell courses on the side, whatever it is, you don't want to ever neglect the core foundational income driver of your business to attempt another venture. You have to have it optimized and kind of dialed in, not kind of, you have to have it optimized and dialed in, and then don't abandon it for the other things. You have to make sure that core driver of what pays your bills, what gives you freedom, what gives you peace of mind, you have to have that stable. And if you feel like it's unstable, you haven't optimized or dialed it in yet. Now, there was one question that came from someone listening. This is from Mistress Quinn, and it was about asking fans. She had learned that a lot of her traffic came from external websites that suggest a list of OF creators, but she doesn't have control over that. So how can you double down? A lot of these SEO like websites like OnlyFinder, for example, and there's many other ones. You can Google OnlyFans review sites. They're usually disguised as review sites. No one's actually reviewing people's OnlyFans. It's just a huge ploy to drive traffic and clicks using SEO. But if you go to OnlyFinder or similar sites that use SEO to drive clicks to OnlyFans pages, if you scroll to the bottom, there's typically an option to contact the site or to be featured on the site or to optimize your profile or claim your profile on the site. Whatever options are available to you, they're usually in the footer of the website. And if you have any availability or any option to get involved with the website, to update the website, to edit the website, that's where you're going to find it. And it's a great way to drive clicks. So I know that there was websites before that I had tried this before. It's not something I followed up on dramatically, but you could even pay to be featured on some of these OnlyFans review sites so that it lists you as like a top performing OnlyFans site or a fan favorite for OnlyFans websites, and then you get more clicks based on SEO. So that's one route you can go. Not all of these SEO traffic sites are going to have the option for you to get involved. A lot of them are being made money, like people are making money off of this as affiliates, driving clicks. But if there is an option for you to get involved, I highly suggest you do, and you would probably find that in the footer of the website. Now, again, I want to double down and just recap that the action steps from listening to this episode: go through your sales history last 60 days, highlight your top performing 3 to 5 pieces of content. If you don't have sales history, start tracking the content you're creating and how well it is performing or selling. Then go through your traffic sources. You want to highlight the top platforms that bring you the most fans or subscribers. Is that Instagram? Is that TikTok? Is that X or Twitter? Is that Reddit? What have you? Then cut out one thing that you're currently doing that isn't performing well or that burns you out. Then pick one type of teaser or marketing content to double down on this week. Ideally, it's going to be something that's already performed well for you in the past. So if you are feeling like you're behind, if you are feeling like you're failing because you don't have enough energy to do absolutely everything, and this is so relatable. I was on the phone with my best friend last night calling myself a failure. So I can feel you on this. But you are not lazy, and you are also not bad at business. You're likely distracted or making decisions blindly, and you're not sure where to apply your effort that's actually going to move the needle forward. And now you get to stop. I am giving myself permission to stop, and I'm giving you permission to stop so that you can cut out the noise and you can focus on what's going to work the best. Because the truth is, when you master your 20%, you're actually unlocking your 100%. That's more money, that's more freedom, and that's more time. And most importantly, a business that actually works for you and not one that drains you. That's a philosophy. I'm going to figure out if I can get there because I've been there, I've tasted it, but I'm not currently in the mix. So once you do cut the noise, once you start building a business that actually works for you, you're going to realize that there's even something better. You don't have to do it alone because you now know that the 20%, those high impact content pieces that drive your results, the next step is making the execution easier. And that's where GPTs can come in. So if you're not familiar, we have a product here at SWCEO that we sell. It is a subscription-based product called GPTease.ai. That's GPTease.ai. And it's like ChatGPT, except it actually understands your work as an adult creator. So whether you need help scripting your spicy videos, writing captions that actually convert, that's explicit OnlyFans or fan site captions, PPV captions, social media captions. If you need help, replying to fans in like an inspired way to use in DMs, or just coming up with ideas because your brain is fried and you're uninspired, GPTease.ai can help you stay focused on what actually will work. The 20% that drives your 100%. It's free to try, and it is waiting for you at GPTease.ai, because when you stop doing everything yourself, you start scaling like a CEO. Now, go get your time back, build a business that actually supports you, and let's stop glorifying the hustle a little bit. Instead, let's start optimizing it. Thank you guys so much for listening, CEO Squad. I will see you in the next one.
It would be absolutely incredible if you rated this podcast 5 stars and left a little review. We want to get this podcast to as many adult creators as possible, and you taking a second to leave a couple stars and a review really helps us do that. Thanks so much.